Hola, Ginalito, aka Mahadi, not Mahali, the girl that calls 4 countries home. I am not alone today. I have a guest. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi guys, it is ZENANI. How do I introduce myself? Okay, I am a mother of 3. I am a life coach and an author and a motivational speaker or transformational speaker and a friend.
Yes, thanks to Facebook and
yes, thanks to social media. Yeah, we've been friends for years, but I think this is our second time meeting face to face.
Yes,
I think it's our second time.
Yeah.
So our second time meeting face to face.
So the first time we met at a mutual friend's wedding, but we didn't really know each other. And
so it was like hi.
She was busy. She always has people around her. So basically, like the reason I asked you, if I could interview you for my channel, like you say, you're so multifaceted. There's just so much about you, and you intrigue me really. You're so confident, and you've been through so much in life, and of course I read your book, the book Beyond Broken. Some of you in Perth, you've got your copies. So do you want to tell my viewers like what the book is about and what inspired you to write it?
Yes, so the book is my life story, but more than it being my life story, it's life lessons. I tried to write it in such a way that I'm not just telling my story, but I share the lessons that I picked up along the way. It's my broken pieces, ugly truths, terrible choices. That's the tagline of the book. Then it says bad grace. So through those ugly pieces, terrible choices and ugly truths, terrible choices and broken pieces, there was grace. I've been through abuse, witnessing gender-based violence between my parents, and I was one of those. I saw that I'll never have a husband like that, or I'll never get married. And funny, I got married to my dad's replica, somebody who just abused me financially, emotionally, psychologically, physically. And then I was diagnosed with HIV. I've been single parenting, and I like to say my single parenting has been in phases. There was the pre-marriage. I was a single mother, unmarried mother of 2. Then I got married, I had a child in marriage, and then there was the single parenting that followed the marriage. So with a little bit of co-parenting here and there, and it's dynamics. I don't want to use a bad word. But so the book is about that, how my childhood influenced my adulthood, how my childhood trauma, my undealt with childhood trauma influenced my decisions or choices as an adult, and everything that happened in those periods.
This is what shaped you, what made you who you are now. My goodness, a strong woman. That is sure. Like, you quite have people ever told you you're controversial?
Yes.
Yes, we follow her on Facebook. Oh, she's so brave. She says what she thinks as it is, And for me, that's a thing that I admire the most in her. She just lives her life. She says her truth. She says how she feels, just as it is. She's brave. Where would you say you get your bravery from? Because I think the first time, I remember you had written a long status about you were talking about your HIV status, and I didn't know up until then, and I had never seen someone so brave to talk openly. Like you so openly share your life.
Where does the bravery come from? From suppressing myself or my feelings or my voice for a very long time.
Like that?
Yes. There was a time where I can't even say timid. I was something You know, having been okay, one of the things I did not mention when I was talking about my life story, I was abused sexually by my cousin when I was 10. And that took away my voice. I was a very bubbly child at first. You know, that child would dance and be happy and point things out that are not obvious to people, like, you know. And then that incident happened. And then I became this very withdrawn child who was bullied at school. You know, I lost my bubbliness, my everything, my confidence. And then I became this very withdrawn person who wasn't talking to anyone about anything, couldn't express my feelings. If I'm hurt, you just see me disappear somewhere into a corner and crying myself out. And so when after life had dealt with me, I was like, but I am still me. And I have a voice, and that voice was once out there. You know, I once used my voice. Why not? You know, so unfortunately for the person impacted, when I reclaimed my voice, it was when my marriage ended. It's how I ended my marriage publicly. You know, when I was so tired of the abuse and everything, I went to Facebook and started writing about gender-based violence, started talking about preachers that climb the pulpit and preach one thing and then come home and live another. So, and everybody was like, what's going on? And I attached a picture of myself swollen, you know, showing the beating that had happened that morning. That's how I reclaimed my voice. From that day, I never kept quiet again, because throughout my 3 years of marriage, I was this, you know, very good wife. Who was not, nobody knew what I was going through in my marriage.
Protecting.
Yes, even those that picked it up, I protected the marriage so much by saying no, it was not happening. That nothing was wrong. We were fine. Just, you know, few marriage challenges like any other married couple and whatnot. So when I reclaimed my voice in that way, it just opened me up to saying, but you still have yourself. You are still you know, and you can still reclaim your voice. And then that opening up, I realized that it gave voice to other people. Because after I wrote that status about the abuse that was going on and everything, and the period it had taken for me to start talking about it, I got a lot of people that were like, me too. I've been through that. And I've never known how to voice it out. I didn't even know that there were terms I could use to describe my feelings. Then I realized that this was not just my story now. It was everybody's
like
story.
Story.
It's a human story, you know. And and I started, you know, using my voice more and more on social media to talk about whatever that affects me.
So it was being pushed to the, you know, that thing that you felt. And it's so good that you've continued to, with that bravery, to just, you found your voice and you stayed there.
Yes.
Because
if you remember in the book, there's a chapter, I think it's chapter 3, it says silence. And then there's a line where I talk about silence being golden. But when silence is used to oppress people or to keep things that should be spoken about in the dark, and then it's no longer golden. It's foolishness, you know. So that's one of the lessons that I picked up, that I do not have to be silent in abuse. And then in that chapter, I compare the time when I was silent after I was abused by my cousin, and the silence that I applied in my marriage, and how it all had to come to that point of breaking the silence once and for all. Not just for me, but for everyone else, and for my children as well, and for generations to come, to know that you do not have to suffer in silence.
Guys, that book made me cry so much. Like I would share with you when I was reading.
When you were reading it, yes, I remember.
Because the things, I mean, I haven't spoken openly about, I mean, I speak openly about my marriage breakdown, but not all sections of my life, you know. And I've really, you know, gathered strength in how freely you speak. But I do struggle with people who, like, even for me, I have like women who contact me, even men, you know, who are so happy that I'm sharing what I'm going through because it's strengthening them, but they have people who feel like I'm putting my dirty laundry on the thing, or what about your children, or what about the doctor, or what do you think? There
will always be those people. The first time when I opened up, this was in 2016, when my marriage I finally crumbled down, and so publicly and so humiliatingly. Obviously, one of the emotions that day that I was feeling was anger. I was very angry. I did not even think much about the action. It was a best.
Okay.
One of the reasons I had to do it was that I was so angry that I was feeling murderous. And I was like, if I go home and I meet this guy again, I am going to do something very stupid. I have to save myself from this. I remember that. You know, so that's one of the reasons. Obviously, this was met with a lot of
because he was known and loved.
He was known and loved and respected as a preacher, as whatever, and it was met with a lot of counter, attacks from people that were inboxing me, people that were trying to get hold of my number to call me, people that were telling me that family issues must be spoken about in a family setting and not private, in social media. Some people were thinking that I was doing a pity party. I want people to feel sorry for me. A lot of opinions. And then there was also those who were like, we are with you, So for me to move from that day, I had to switch off every other voice and only keep the voice of we are with you. No matter how few they
how
were.
How were you able to do that?
It was just an intuition. I was like, and those who came to me directly, I was so quick and hushed to deal with them. Like, sissy, please, please, don't you dare.
I struggle with.
I remember one of them was a pastor, and I was like, in fact, you don't know me that way. You don't know what I've been through.
It's true.
You know only what has been displayed on Facebook. So you don't know me. Don't speak to me as if you know me. If you do not have anything to add or whatever, you are allowed to keep your opinions. God bless your soul and leave me alone.
Wow.
So I was so efficient in dealing with them, and eventually some of those people, funny enough, that were fighting me that day are one of my biggest supporters now.
Wow, because now they get it.
They get it. Because they were speaking out of, you are shaming the church. You are shaming him. Hey, you must protect your things. You must not expose your dirty laundry. And I was like, even if I am exposing dirty laundry, it's my dirty laundry. It's my laundry. So I don't see how this affects you as a person. It does not change your price of bread. It does not add a liter to your fuel. It does not do anything for you. So why do you care? So why should it bother you so much that you want to call a conference on me that I'm airing my dirty laundry? So so I was just like switch off. So once I dealt with them, I continued like that day. I think I wrote a series of 5 statuses, 5 posts. The first post was very general on stop women abuse. What. The second one, it was detailed with a picture on, you know what, you took my phone, you took whatever, but I dare you, you are not going to take away my voice. You might have taken my communication tools, but you cannot take away my voice. So everything that I did after that day was anchored on reclaiming my voice. It was, you have done everything in your power to shut me up, but I refuse to remain shut up. So everybody that was talking against me speaking, it felt like they were also abusing me. Like, how dare you want to take away my voice when I've worked so hard to reclaim it. So even obviously after that the ministry started and I started getting invited to churches and whatnot, I presented myself as this person who has a voice. Like, I am going to say things that are uncomfortable for you to hear, but I am going to say them anyway. So for me that day it was like, because I would say a pathfinder, because I started something that nobody has ever spoken about. There were so many people that were in abusive marriages that were going through it, but they were not talking about. So me talking, it was like, okay, we can relate. We are here, and now we can also say that this is what has been happening. This is what has been happening. I mean, 7 years later, I still have people that are like, I've followed you for all this time. I've read your book. but I'm still in the marriage and I'm scared.
Eesh.
So
Yeah.
there's still work to do.
Yeah. What would you say to those people? To someone who feels
I can't, obviously, I don't
you
have
can't
the
say
right to
leave.
say leave.
Yeah.
But like, obviously, inside I'll be screaming, leave! Why are you still there? But I can't tell anyone to divorce, their spouse or whatever. But I always give the word of, there's no one who's coming for you.
Yeah.
You
No
can
one
only
to
save
rescue.
yourself. So, there's no one who's going to come out of nowhere and say, I'm here to rescue you. So if you don't save yourself, you are actually making a choice.
Yeah.
You're making a choice to die in there, with whether you're going to be killed by depression or this man is going to kill you or whatever. But you have made a choice by staying. And I just hope that whatever choice you are making, you are going to be able to live with it. And your children one day are not going to look at you and be like, why did you stay?
So you mentioned depression. Did you ever struggle with that?
I did. I've been living with depression since the first time I was diagnosed that I can point to. Where it was first noted as postpartum depression. I just had my second born.
Okay.
So I was 24. I had I had children at 23 and 24.
Okay.
My first child and second child are 18 months apart. So the first time I fell sick, my doctor was like, maybe postpartum. But then when I was admitted at Vista, they were like, no, there's a lot.
Wow, there's a lot more.
Yeah, there's childhood trauma that's not dealt with. There's the sexual abuse. There's a lot of stuff that was just not dealt with. So it was a major, depressive episode. So I've been, in and out of it throughout the years. So during my marriage, I think that was the most depressed I had ever been. It changed how I looked. I lost my complexion.
I've seen the pictures.
You've seen the pictures. I lost my complexion. I know I'm not a light-skinned person, but I was charcoal. I was beyond my dark complexion. I was charcoal. I lost a lot of weight. I went to wear size 28 at some point. I have never worn size 28 ever in my life. But as an adult mother of 3, I was wearing size 28, 30. I was, it changed how I dressed. Girl, you know how much I love clothes.
You're always looking on point.
I was wearing
did you know you're not okay?
I didn't know. And people that met me at a time when I was still me, when I was still okay, and now they saw the state I was in, they're like, what's going on with your fashion sense? I was wearing ugly clothes. I did not even know how to match my clothes anymore. I was not okay, and I was not even aware that I was going through depression at that time, because usually because I've lived with it so many years, I'll diagnose myself whenever the symptoms come back. I'm like, okay, you need to do something about this and whatever, go for counseling, whatever. But that time I was just in that state. I was extremely sad.
And that's very, very I'm interested
sad
to know about the dress sense. When you picked the clothes, was it just subconsciously wearing?
I was just wearing to cover my body. I was not, nothing was interesting me. I didn't want to be beautiful. I didn't want to, I was just covering the body, I lost interest in a lot of things I would like doing a bit. Now they took a lot of thought, I have to go do that.
It felt like an effort.
Everything was an effort. I lost myself completely. I remember the day I decided this was it, I was like, no, you know who you are, man, and this is not you. This person that I was severely sad all the time. I'm not a person who cries easily. I don't usually cry. I always find a way to process my emotions without really crying. By that time I was this very sad person, man. I would sit and just cry. And I didn't know why.
Okay.
And I would think of everything that this man is doing, even on times where we were okay. I was just sad. I also get the anxiety. I was always anxious of what's going to be going wrong now. What am I going to be blamed for now? What am I going to be accused of? What's going to happen next? So I was between depression and anxiety the whole time. And you know how depression is. Depression wants you to close yourself, you know, away, and you don't want to deal with anything. But there's the anxiety that says, plan ahead, do this, put this in order, so that when you get to this, you don't deal, you know. So I was just that mess of I'm severely depressed and I'm anxious at the same time. Anxiety says, like, I knew that when we're fighting, he would put me on silent treatment a week or two. And I started looking forward to those. I started looking forward to those episodes, like where I'm like, you know what, alone. Like I'm alone. I don't have to deal with him. There's a bit of peace in my bubble. I don't have to stress. And when we're not tracking, he wouldn't eat my food. So I would use those times to.
So you know they don't have to cook.
Yes, I don't have to cook. My kids can sleep on noodles or cereal or whatever. I can buy them takeaways if I can afford. I won't have to stress about a person who demands a certain meal or whatever. So I started looking forward. Sometimes I would even start fights so that it puts me on silent treatment so that I get my peace. But I now know I was just going through
functional toxicity.
Yes, functional toxicity. It was like, no, sometimes I just like, we're too peaceful, man. We're too much okay. Let me just do something to get him out of my space and.
Oh my goodness.
But I now, like, when I look back, I now realize how toxic I was at times.
Yeah.
And I know that like 80% of the time, it was depression functioning. It was not me.
Yeah.
It was like depression and anxiety just pushing me to do certain things in a certain way. As a result, some of the photos, when I come across them, I just go delete because I'm like, girl,
they take you to.
What is this? This fit, please. What are you even thinking? So some of them, I keep them, and I'm like, yeah, I've come a long way. Some of them, I'm like, no, I don't want to remember.
I'm just thinking, like, you've gone through so many things at different times, you know, and I'm interested in, I think also even, you know, the HIV, that what gave you the courage to share that and remove the stigma and just say, you know, this is life, this is what's going on?
That one took me long. It took me long to start sharing, mainly because I was very angry. Number one, I blamed myself a lot. Secondly, I was blaming myself a lot on, I could have, you know, protected myself and all of that. And I was afraid on what it would do to my mother, because we must remember, my mom only got to know about the state of my marriage when it ended. She didn't know what I was going through.
That's the thing I remember you saying, like, you kept it to yourself.
I kept it to myself. Like, so when it ended so publicly, she, you know, took time, came from Eastern Cape, came to stay with me in Pretoria, literally nursed me back to sanity. And
your mom is incredible.
You know, cooked for me, fed me and my children. Like, I became a baby for the whole month and a half she was with us. I would come back from work and go to my room and close myself. She would let me be. Some days I would just feel like opening up and sharing. She would let me be. She would clean my house, cook for me, make sure the children are clean, they've been picked up for school and everything. So now to say I am also HIV positive.
Hela, you've watched everything. Thank you so much for watching everything. Now don't forget to subscribe and go back to my other videos and scroll and scroll and scroll and watch everything. there's very good things in here, very good, interesting things. You are number one. Number one. Now, thank you. And take care of yourself.